Hello and welcome to the first ever edition of the TopFrag Podcast. I'm your host, Brennan Shave, and today we're going to be discussing the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is the competitive league format of the Blizzard game Overwatch. Now, obviously, if you don't know who Blizzard are, they also made World of Warcraft, a very popular MMO game. And essentially, the league is structured very similarly to modern sports leagues like the NFL, NBA. So basically, they have teams organized by geographic region and conference with a team logo to go with it. And basically, each team will start with 6 players in the starting lineup and then a few bench players that they will rotate in or out depending on the map or the game type that they're playing. So I want to start it off with a very interesting topic like the Overwatch League, because the Overwatch League has been a big talking point recently because a lot of people feel like the Overwatch League has been probably more of a success than many would have imagined, right? Obviously, they have essentially copy and pasted the NALCS system or the modern sports league system and tried to create a whole product from scratch, right? I mean, there was very little competitive aspects of Overwatch before the Overwatch League. I mean, there was tournaments every now and again, but a lot of people were just waiting on this league to come out. And then, of course, there was massive buy-ins to get into the league. There was, only limited spots allowed for the first season, but everything has been better than I think what most analysts and experts would have assumed. And today, Tesserto.com published an article stating that the Overwatch League has beaten the NALCS average viewership for the first time since the league's creation. The Overwatch League viewership peaking above the NALCS is very, very interesting to me. As far as, just in general, getting people to come watch Overwatch, because if you've never played the game, it's very confusing. It's not like CSGO. It's not like Call of Duty. You can't just simply sit down and watch an Overwatch match like you would a CSGO match, right? Because in CSGO, you can see physically, without knowing anything about the game, that, okay, this person just killed that person, right? He just got that frag. He is able to now move on to the point. But Overwatch is much different in the fact that there's so much going on. There's obviously 6 different players on each team that are all doing something individually. And obviously, again, there is a lot of team-based gameplay in Overwatch, but with all of the extra abilities and ults, it just makes it so confusing for new viewers, which I think is the main reason that a lot of people felt that it probably wouldn't succeed. But here's where Blizzard has been phenomenal. They took a reward system or an in-game currency and turned it into rewards for people. Basically, if you watched the Overwatch League, there was a chance that you could get a crate to open. And if you get the crate, you get a cool, costume for your character. You get a new skin, as it's called in the gaming industry. And they drew people in, right? They drew people in. The first night, they had over 400,000 people watching at peak viewership for the first day of the Overwatch League. And again, obviously, the numbers have very much gone down since then, but it is very important to note that the Overwatch League has managed to keep the high viewership despite losing more than 50% of their viewers from that first night. And quite frankly, when you look at the statistics reported first by the Esports Observer, or on Twitter at Esports Observed, the average viewership for the Overwatch League was 154,000 viewers. The average for NALCS was 106,000. We're talking about almost a 50,000 person difference in average viewership for the Overwatch League. And I think that says a lot, not only about the complexity maybe of LCS from a new viewer perspective, but also just how much they really do care about trying to promote their fan base and really just be able to get the max viewership that they want at all times. So with that being said, the second topic that I did want to bring up is just about the potential for expansion. Now, this article was posted by ESPN, the esports division, of course, of ESPN, and it stated that after essentially the large success that they're seeing in the 12-team format that they have right now between teams in USA, Europe, and Asia, that there is a very, very high potential that teams could be added, such as a 13th team, 14th team, maybe all the way even up to 16 coming into Season 2. But they've also added that the buy-in for this league will be much higher. And I think you're seeing that as a direct result of people realizing that, hey, this Blizzard product that's being created with Overwatch is very, very good and can be monetized very well. And I think not only are investors seeing that, but I think Blizzard obviously has seen it because they've, again, kind of risen above the expectation and said, look, we are going to show you that we are more valuable than most people think. And they have done that absolutely. The product, I think, is a little bit better. When you look at the stadiums, I think the Overwatch stadium, as far as design and things like that, blows it out of the water. I mean, the graphics that we're seeing from them, the screenshots that you see of the stadium itself, whether you're watching it on a stream or you're watching it live in person, it's amazing, right? The pictures are amazing. The graphics are amazing. When a team wins, the whole stadium lights up in that team's color. You can feel kind of the excitement of the game as it's going on, not just in the stadium, but in the actual game itself. I think another thing is that the casters for Overwatch League are much more household names. I know Riot Games, for example, they've always kind of created their casters to be a tight-knit community. In a sense, I do think they obviously have notoriety, but I feel like the Overwatch League has done a much better job of getting big-time casters, right? You talk about Monte Cristo, he's come to Overwatch League. He is arguably maybe the face of the whole league, as far as the commentator section is concerned. I mean, he's unbelievably talented and, deserves all the credit in the world for what he's done to help Overwatch League become as big as it is. You talk about they've added Golden Boy now. Golden Boy has been kind of the king of console commentators, in my opinion. I mean, he's done pretty much every game that I can think of, not just on console as well as on PC, but, he's done it all. He's made the most of every chance he's got, and now he's on the Overwatch League, and obviously he streams on his own as well and has a huge following for that. And, then, of course, you've talked about a couple of other casters who are very smart, very analytical, which you definitely need. You don't always need the most high-class casters, and Blizzard did a really good job of that. They mixed it up between having the big-name personalities to mix them with the people who really understand the game in depth, and that's why it's working so well. And then, of course, they brought in probably the biggest name of all the commentators was Semler, of course, former CSGO casting partner of Anders, who is now working with Moses, mostly with Room on Fire. And Semler is, his following is unbelievable in CSGO, right? And it obviously has not all transferred directly from Overwatch, but I do think that a large portion of people have either learned about the Overwatch League or have been convinced to try and watch it at least once, or at least give it a try and see what it's about, because of not only the reach that Semler has, but the reach that all of the casters I named before have, which I think Overwatch can owes them a lot of credit to the viewership, but shouldn't give them too much, right? Because, again, Blizzard has made the game Overwatch. They've made this amazing stadium. Their production is unbelievable, and they have, basically set themselves up in a way where they will not accept failure, and they haven't accepted failure. They've only succeeded in becoming potentially the most popular and most viewed league in all of esports right now. That's going to do it for my first ever episode of the TopFrag Podcast. If you did enjoy, please make sure to follow me and interact with me on Twitter at BrendoTGB. That's BrendoTGB. Follow me on Instagram if you'd like at BrendoChave, BrendoChave. And if you do have any inquiries about sponsorship or potential partnerships, or if you'd like to even be featured on the show, please email me any applications or contacts of any kind to chavebrendan11@gmail.com. That's CHAVEBRENDAN11@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you on Top Frag Episode 2.